Fine Chinaman here today, and it's time to do some more silver. And we have Trenton with us. Trenton, hi, how are you?
I am back. I'm great. Getting ready for the holidays, getting the silver polished and ready to have family and friends over.
Very good. It is that time of year. Easter's coming. So,
Absolutely.
speaking of Easter, we need serving pieces for Easter dinner.
Absolutely.
So,
And you've got some pretty ones to talk about tonight.
yes, there are six of them here. Let's take a look at that set of six. Here they are. We're going to go from left to right on these. So let's take a closer look at the first one. The first one looks a tad dangerous, but probably not too bad. It measures in at 6 1/8. What is this, Trenton?
That is a butter pick for curls of butter or butter pats. It is not, has never been, and will never be a corkscrew, though some folks have tried to make it into one. Their corks are softer than the corks where I am. A great serving piece to quiz your friends over.
Now, we were talking about this that a lot this piece is constantly remade. And does this one look like an authentic original one to you?
Absolutely. You can tell, I can tell because of the way the twist is even and it turns several times as it goes from the handle to the end. Also, the handle is very fine and subtle. Usually, some people, some silversmiths, some dealers will take innocent teaspoons and turn them into butter picks or olive spoons or ice cream forks. You can really tell it if you have a teaspoon and the handle is pretty substantial. You can tell if you look at next to the butter pick, the handle's a lot thinner and finer and more subtle. And the flatness on a made up piece where it leaves the handle to the twist, also there are fewer twists in it.
Yeah, I have a little story about butter picks. I was years ago. I was a docent, or you could call tour guide, at a historic Victorian house, and one of the favorite places for me to stop was, of course, the dining room, and I would take tours in there and around with the rest of the house as well. But they had several pieces of silver there that they said you could take from and show. They had maybe 15 pieces or 10 or 15 pieces. Show three of them to the tour as they go through. And one of my favorites to always show was the butter pick. So they had a butter pick there, and this is something I want to do. I have not done it yet myself, but according to that museum, the way they used it, you mentioned curled butter. They said there in that house it was in balls of butter. They'd make butter balls, and then you would take that and you basically push into the butter ball and then put it on either your plate or your butter pat, whatever you had. So it was a really neat piece, and it was my first ever. Actually, I was still pretty young then. It was my first time I'd ever seen a butter pick, and I thought that's an interesting piece. I want one of those.
Been above my pay grade. My mother never had one. I lived a deprived childhood.
Well, I was too until I got to the museum, huh?
Exactly.
That's when I
Exactly.
saw it. Okay, so that's an interesting piece, definitely. And oh, and one more thing we better mention: this is not an individual piece. This is a serving piece, correct?
Exactly. You would not have a dozen butter picks on the table. There's butter's not, you don't want that much butter.
Okay, good. All right. The next piece, let's take a close look at that. And this one, I've seen this in many patterns. It's a little more common. This one measures 6 1/4. Trenton, what is this piece?
This is a jelly server, and it is something that you can use for jams and jellies at breakfast. You're serving lamb for mint jelly. It's designed to just slice into jelly and get it from the jar onto the plate to be used with pieces, or onto the butter plate if you're using it for biscuits, as we do in the South. Great, very flexible piece. The silver uh, police will not come to you if you use it for a really soft cheese. with the charcuterie board. It's a very, very flexible piece and generally readily available in a lot of patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it in many myself as well. The next
Mhm.
piece I haven't seen in quite as many patterns in this form, at least. It's an amazing piece. It's 10 inches long. Let's take a close look at it here and then the measurement of it. Trenton, what is this large piece?
This is an all silver pastry server, and this is really the height of late 19th century, early 20th century silver silversmithing. When you look at the handle, where it joins the handle to the body of the piece with the decoration on it, and then the fluted part between the handle and the tip, it's a very it's a beautiful piece in wonderful condition and very flexible to use pastries to use for a tea. If you have pastries that are already um, cut in smaller pieces to take it from a tea tray to put it on a plate for that. Very flexible, beautiful piece. The fluting would keep something from sticking to the body if you were dealing with something that had some icing or the like on it. Very flexible in terms of use. Also, if you look at the handle, it's substantial enough that if you decided to change the function to something that was a little heavier, or my mother's cakes, you could cut into it a lot easier that way.
So you could cut and serve a cake all with this single piece then.
I think you could, it would depend on the size of the cake and the like. Obviously, a big traditional birthday cake, you'd want to use a cake knife, but something smaller, you could certainly use this to slice and serve with. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Trenton. Very good.
Mhm.
Um, the next one looks very similar to this one, except it's way smaller. It
Mhm.
is 8 1/8 long. And what is this one?
This is a jellied cake server, and so if you can think of a pastry that's rolled with the cake filling cake lined with jelly to roll it up. This would be something that you could slice and serve a much smaller piece with, and the fluting makes it easier to cut and to serve with. Again, like the larger piece, beautiful decoration on the body of it to make it really functional and not just a pretty piece.
Okay, speaking of pretty pieces, I think the next one looks really neat. This one, take a look at this here. It's a type of fork. It's got little bars on it. It measures in at 7 7/8. What is this one, Drenton?
Well, I would have called it any number of definitions of forks. I'd call it possibly a small cold meat fork, possibly a trout fork, or a small fish fork. I've also heard it described or seen it described as a cake fork. It really is a piece that's designed to serve something that might flake out. So if you can imagine serving a trout that's been cooked whole, a fork this size would make it easier to fillet. Fish, other fish forks are much larger, and those are designed for large salmon and the big ocean going fishes. So this is a smaller piece, also designed if you're serving between people at a table from a small platter. The smaller fork is easier to reach between two people.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting. It can be also described as a cake fork as well.
Hmm.
It's kind of the shape of a small slice of cake, not a really large slice of cake.
Right.
Pretty versatile piece there.
Exactly. And the piercing between the tines is really quite lovely. And the handwork involved with that is a lost art.
Yeah, it looks very spectacular.
Mhm.
Our last piece on this list is here it is right here, the picture. It measures 7 5/8. This is a
And
more
that
common
is
one What is it?
It is a classic butter serving knife, all silver, designed for right-handed people only. I guess you just had to make sure you didn't have any left-handed friends who wanted butter. It is all silver. Again, you've got detailing on the blade so that the butter's not going to stick on it. A very flexible piece. Again, I've seen it used for pâtés and soft cheeses, but it was originally designed as a butter serving knife. Many patterns have this piece done in two sizes. I have not seen it smaller in Lucerne, except maybe by an eighth of an inch. In some of the Gorham patterns, I see it in butter serving knives in considerable difference of half an inch or even 3/4 of an inch between the large and the small. And no, I don't know why they made it in two different sizes. They just could.
Do you think any could have to do with luncheon versus dinner?
I don't think so. I mean, it's possible, but I think it may have had to do with breakfast, smaller, lower key. Um, it might have to do with you want a smaller butter serving dish or a serving knife if your table was really crowded. I I've never seen anything to explain why, except that um, they could, and it was not better or worse. It was just different. I do think the larger, if you're collecting a pattern that has two options, I personally think the larger one is more flexible and usable on a regular basis. The smaller ones are quite tiny. I don't have huge hands, but they feel small in my hands. But if someone's collecting every piece ever made in Buttercup or Cambridge, then you need both.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, Trenton, how can people get a hold of you if they want
Uh,
to help with silver?
Info at trentonforsilver.com, and that's Trenton the number 4 silver.com, and you let me know if you have any questions. I'm here for you.
All right. And I'm putting it down in the description as well, so you can see it down there. And we're going to do another video probably in about a month from now. We'll do another one. We're going to keep going with these as long as we can to get as many pieces out there for you guys to see. And so whether you're a Lucerne fan or you just want to know general as far as what pieces were available in the average pattern. So thank you very much, Trenton.
Thank you for having me. Any questions, folks? You can just contact me and I will do my best to answer any questions I can.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All
Take
right.
care,
Take
everybody.
care. Bye-bye.